We have we're waiting for the connection to stabilize. I hope it stabilizes faster than my hair does. Eric, can you hear me?
Can you hear me okay? I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm not able to see you. I'll let you. I can. We're waiting for the video to... Yeah, I can see you now.
Okay.
I can see you.
Good. Hello.
Great. Hi. Eric, it's good to see you smiling. You know, it's nighttime out here, and I can see that behind you, the sun is in its full glory. So we are divided by time and distance and connected by poetry.
And that is fantastic. And I thank you because it is a beautiful day in New Jersey. The sun is shining, and I'm really honored to be a part of this international project. I love the work that you do, and this book is fantastic.
Well, yes, it is fantastic. I have read your poem, Old How Are You? It's a work that needs recognition and discussion. It's a subject that's close to my heart as well. But first I must say that the book looks good. This book, the way it's designed by Akshay, it's a good-looking book. However, appearances can be deceptive. In this case, however, the soul of the book, that's the poetry and the words inside, they match the beauty of the cover outside. So I congratulate you for...
I thank you.
I'd immediately like to ask you something. It says here, below your name, Eric Shorter, Maplewood, United States. May I understand about Maplewood?
Yeah, Maplewood is a suburban town.
Okay, I believe there's an internet...
Activity.
I can see you, and absolutely. Yeah, we are good. We have some of our friends. We have Sarah and Vedant joining in. I believe Vedant, I know,
Yes,
is from India, and we have
Sarah. Sarah is
yeah.
my friend here locally in the
Okay.
neighboring town of South Orange.
Well, she's a true friend. She has come to celebrate with you.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Vedant, for joining in.
Yeah, I
Um,
hope some others will join as well.
I hope so too.
But
Else, let's make it a memorable video for them to watch later. In any
okay.
case.
Well, you had asked me about Maplewood.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful suburban town just west of Newark, New
Okay.
Jersey, and about 25 to 30 minutes away from Manhattan. But it is a commuter town. There are a number of creative people that live here, young families raising their children outside of the city.
Okay. So you have the advantage of a lot of peace and quiet. Okay. And as you said, it's a commuter town. So you go for work to New York, perhaps by the train, and come back in the evenings.
Yes, many people
Okay.
travel back and forth by the train. There is a direct train line into Madison Square Garden, Penn Station, the
Okay.
center of downtown New York. And I used to commute every day. I don't commute anymore. I work more here locally, and I've recently taken up teaching again, teaching young children in the elementary schools.
Is that something you enjoy? Children and education?
I love education, and I love working with young people. I especially love bringing the love of learning to the classroom, because we can creatively approach any problem. If we learn to love learning, the challenges become easier because we want to learn. So my goal is always to encourage people to enjoy learning, even when we learn things that aren't so pleasant. We learn from mistakes, we learn from errors, we learn from trials and tribulations. And with the pandemic, we've had to learn a lot of new things. You know, with people wearing masks, we've had to learn how to read emotions with just our eyes. And so it's been a fascinating experience the past year and a half.
I like how you describe the experience of the past year as fascinating, because you have perhaps used this time wisely and to your happiness by teaching children. I like what you said about learning, that the love of learning, if I may say so, takes care of any problem, because any solution thereafter is a pleasant experience. There's a philosopher, American philosopher, Alan Watts. He has said that when we listen to music, we don't wait for the song to end. We enjoy every note of the song. So perhaps learning is like that. You enjoy every stage of the solution, of the journey itself.
That's the approach. If we learn to enjoy the process and the journey, and we stay open to the outcome, that becomes something we can celebrate, even when it's not always the outcome we're looking for.
It's true.
So,
that's true.
Wow. It's been fascinating, but it's the pandemic has also allowed me to spend more time writing. So I've had the benefit of being able to work from home and to find time to write more.
If I may ask, what have you written? Is it poetry or is it prose, or is it a mix of both?
It is a mix of both. I always write poetry. It is an emotional outlet for me. A lot of mental overflow, my observations. It's a way of keeping a creative diary in a way, without necessarily having to tell the stories, but it allows me to paint a picture that captures moments, whether it's just my thoughts or whether it's something I've observed. It allows me to capture what I'm thinking at the time or what I may be seeing around me at the time. So I always write poetry, and I don't force myself to write. It's when the moment strikes me and I feel compelled, I allow kind of a higher spirit to take over and pick up my pen. With regards to the writing that I've actually been making myself do, I recently finished a novel, just as a challenge for myself to write a novel. And now I'm working on part 2. I want to serialize it. So I finished one novel, and I'm working on the second part.
Okay. This reminds me I have to finish mine as well. I've taken to poetry quite strongly, and prose is lacking. You mentioned about moments. So in your novel, are there many segments where you have penned down your observations of the world around you? Or is it, what's the genre of the novel, if I may ask?
The genre of the novel is a basic Faustian bargain.
Okay.
A man sells his soul to the devil, but unbeknownst to both of them, the devil will not be able to collect his soul because his inner being is not of this realm. So it can't participate in our construct of good and evil. It is from a realm that doesn't have a place in our concept of God, devil, heaven, hell. So that polarity of opposites does not apply to this individual. But he does not understand that he is not from this realm. And in the pursuit of collecting what is due, both he and the devil discover that it's not going to work. And so the chase is on. And it goes into a metaphysical, quantum physical aspect of realms beyond our understanding. So the title of it is Out Over In, and it revolves around this notion of what is within our realm of understanding and what is outside our realm of understanding. And they're both on a mission of discovery, but it's a chase.
This sounds something I'd like to read. So
well,
perhaps
hopefully I can find a publisher.
okay, but hopefully, or perhaps you will consider Kindle, Amazon, or the online system as well.
I was actually given a recommendation of doing something like this, where I can do readings of the chapters and make it accessible to people to just hear. And it'll allow me to at least have the exposure of putting it out there, because the publishing industry is very tricky in terms of putting out a printed matter book, which is why I'm so thrilled about this, because it's such a beautiful book. So I commend you for producing
Well, I've been a smaller part for this. Akshay has been the main spirit behind this. Um, I want to connect the subject of your novel. I want to so there is definitely a moral tale to your novel, since uh, so you have uh, you have realms in your novel, the understanding of realms, a kind of a trade perhaps between good and evil. I'm just imagining right now. And in the poem I have in front of me, titled Old, How Are You? You mention in the first line that age is a total scoundrel.
Yes.
Are these subjects that are close to your heart? The man, death.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I think we all wrestle with our mortal place of we're born, we die. It's A to B, right? And people struggle with the transitions within, childhood to adolescence, to young adulthood, to growing old. And when I titled it Old, How Are You? It really was me looking in the mirror and the reflection of time is taking me through the mortal coil, which I mentioned. And so it leads us all in shackles. There's no way for us to extricate ourselves from this pull of a linear journey.
Okay.
So I was fascinating where I'm going, well, let me just say hello. How are you? I'm old. Old. How are you? Nice to see you.
Well, I want to continue, but we are having a few comments. Our friend from India, Kalyan, who writes poetry, is a poet himself, is mentioning that the audio is breaking. So I'd like a confirmation from we have Mrs. Amita here. If you can confirm, are we audible, dear friends? Hi, old dirty diabetic. Okay, I hope you're taking care of your health, but you can submit to us. I'll mention at the end, but you can message Poet's Choice, and he also mentions, or rather she, I'm not able to make out to the photo, that the audio sounds good, and okay, it's all good. So we'll continue then. When you saw yourself in the mirror, Eric, and as you described, what was the emotion that enveloped you? Was it a certain regret, perhaps a certain fear, or perhaps even joy?
I would say it was joy. And that's why when I saw the joys of aging, I thought, well, that's just perfect, because it was about a celebration that I'm still here, and every day is a new day for me, and my children are growing older, and life continues on, and it is beautiful. However, I must confess, I have over the years struggled with my own emotional issues, primarily bouts of depression, manic episodes, things that most people who know me never see. And when I look at myself, I have struggled with these emotional issues. And so in the poem, when I talk about it leading us all, and I say, barring the quitter, the out-and-out quitter, everyone's a winner. And that really was the contemplation of suicide, not that I was thinking about it myself, but the notion of how if we don't cope and we choose to, sever the cord, that's a different scenario. It doesn't allow us to experience the entirety of growing old. And so that was why I said, if we stick around, we win. And the trials and tribulations, all of the struggles that everyone faces, if we stick around and see it to the end, whatever that end may be, it's a win. So we can celebrate. Well, it wasn't what we wanted, or wasn't what we hoped for, or it was amazing. What a great journey. So that was my thing of contemplating that, stay until the curtains fall and the lights go dark. You'll see, it's fantastic. So,
as you mentioned that therein we each get a gold medal. Survival till the end itself is a cause of celebration.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It's like we stand on the podium of time.
Yes.
At the end of our life.
And we arrive at the gates, whatever those gates may be. And it's congratulations, you did it. Right? So
yes, I have to remind myself not to get lost in your words since I'm asking questions, because you're speaking honestly, as I see, fluently, and with a smile on your face. It's a very pleasant experience for me. We'll take a few questions. Mrs. Amita agrees with you on the points you have made thus far, especially when you were mentioning about the episodes of depression that we have this. Before I ask you, why do you think are so many of us under the grip of sadness and depression? Before I ask you that, I'll ask a question mentioned by Zalzala. How do you relate to psychological problems due to age?
I am blessed to say that I have not seen too much in the way of mental health problems in my parents and other more elderly people. But the psychological issues of age, I think people in general, they connote a negative view of growing old. And we do that when we're young. We look at our parents or the generations above us and say, oh, they're just old, they don't understand. Right? And when I was young and I thought, well, those are old people, now I'm what I used to think of as something negative, I'm there. So we're always as young as we're ever going to be. And for me, I try to relate that to the fact that I'm still as young as I'm ever going to be. So every day, even though my body may not be the same, the fact that I have my mind intact and I'm able to get up out of bed, that puts a smile on my face. And so psychologically, I'm always striving to find something positive, a positive mental attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't always work, but if I try and I strive for that, then that allows me to continue on and stay in the game. The shackles don't come off. You know, that's the beauty of it. You know, I reference in the poem that age is not just a total scoundrel, but a bit of a humorless lout, right? Not age is going to. I may be wrong. Maybe there's humor in it, but I don't think that, you know, we don't find it humorous, right? People don't see growing old as something to laugh about, right? But maybe time, as if you think of time as an entity, you know, the father time probably is laughing. And that's why I also talk about willing to give ground for the good fight.
Okay.
You know, allowing us the opportunity to struggle, you know. Maybe we will eat differently, or maybe we will exercise more, or maybe we will we'll have a bucket list of things that we need to do before it's too late, right? So we put up the good fight.
We put up the good fight. And now I want to know, is age a humorless lout? Is there humor attached to it? You know, I'm thinking maybe it keeps us in check. It keeps our ego in check because we are perhaps gripped by notions of immortality in the way we treat ourselves and people around us, the way we treat resources around us, you know.
Right, as if they're endless.
As if they're endless. And age, one fine morning when we wake up and see ourselves in the mirror, we are reminded by age that, hey, you yourself, you are a resource yourself, and you too are limited. It keeps us in check. So maybe the humor lies in how we react to this realization.
Yes.
Perhaps therein lies the humor or the tragedy in a Shakespearean sense.
Well, that's what I said. Herein lies the laughter.
Herein lies the laughter. True.
Right. We can say, well, I guess there's no choice.
Yep.
You know, we all get a gold medal, and that's worth a little bit of a chuckle. So.
Yes. True. And I must mention here the lines bearing the quitter, the out and out quitter, everyone's a winner. I listen to some American bands, and there's a band called REM. I believe it's a Rapid Eye Movement is the full name of the band, and they have a very popular song, Everybody Hurts.
Yes.
Wherein they say that it's okay to hurt, it's okay to perhaps even cry, because everybody hurts. And reading this instantly reminded me of that wonderful song, a very popular song, and it made me agree that barring the quitter, the out and out quitter, everyone's a winner. And then, Eric, and for all of us watching, I was reminded of a concept in Greek literature, or perhaps Greek philosophy, that death is perhaps not a sad event if the life has been lived well. However, they also say that it's okay to quit if there is no dignity in life. What do you think, Eric?
I don't know how I can accept the notion of taking one's life, with the one exception of if there really aren't any other options and it's known that a person is dying and they are suffering from great pain. Ending that suffering is something that I can understand. But if it's just the suffering of life, I am someone who believes that every day is a new day. And if the sun rises, so should we. And there's always someone somewhere who can be there for us. And I'm a little spiritual that way, where I can grasp onto spiritual concepts that help me. But everyone is different in their approach and how they can learn to cope. There is suffering in this world, and there's great suffering in this world. And for some, it's unacceptable. And I feel blessed that I'm not one of those who is suffering. So my goal is to try and share in the joy and the love to maybe help someone else who is suffering so that they don't suffer as much. And I also believe that the more we collectively can do this, and poetry is a part of that. Poetry allows us to share things that people can connect with and feel those emotions and say, I'm not alone. Somebody else feels what I feel, which taps into what you were just mentioning with the REM song. Everybody hurts. And so sometimes when we're hurting, we have to find someone who can empathize and who knows what we're going through.
Very, very well said. In fact, you mentioned about poetry connecting with people, and I think it's happening here, as we have a message from Amita Sunthalia. When you were speaking of psychological issues, I'm not able to read it because the chat window is too small, so I'll come back to it later. And we have some more friends joining in. We had Khushbu from Gujarat in India. That's a state on the western side of India. It's a state in picture because our Prime Minister hails from there, the leader of a country, the executive leader of a country. Khushbu is someone who is very much interested in mental health. And that's one of the reasons she joined. So I hope she'll ask a question, because that's if she doesn't shy away. Because that's one thing she's known for, being a shy poet. And I will request you to read the poem for all of us. Eric?
You want me to read my poem?
If you're okay with that, I think you have a good voice.
Yes, absolutely. I can read my poem. I've actually performed it recently, so I know it by heart, but it's always better to read it. So, hello audience out there, if you're ready. This is Old, How Are You? Age is a total scoundrel, a near humorless lout, and a creep, without remorse and little regard for catching feelings. A pugnacious adversary at that, thankfully, mercifully, agonistic, willing to give ground for the good fight, knowing full well in duels to the death there can only be one victor, where barring the quitter, the out-and-out quitter, everyone's a winner. Therein we each get a gold medal. Herein lies the laughter. And so it leads us all onward through the coil and shackles, coaxing us come see. Stay until the curtains fall and the lights go dark. Stay, and you'll see. You'll hate me for it over time, no doubt. But it's absolutely the best game in town.
You read it like you meant it. That's a fine recital. You'll hate me for it over time, no doubt, but it's absolutely the best game in town. Wow. That's Eric Shorter, Maplewood, United States, from the book Joys of Aging, an anthology of poems. Out, I think the time is apt to also talk about Akshay. You have been in touch with Akshay Sunthalia.
Yes.
And his wonderful brand, Poet's Choice.
Yes.
Akshay, I have known Akshay for some time, and he is as polite in person as he sounds on the video chat, and as he sounds over the phone. And some of that politeness, some of that sensitivity, or rather lots of it, has seeped into his work. He is a writer himself, and he likes to introduce for all of us subjects that are sensitive in nature and that have a philosophical leaning. Just, like how we are able to talk about so many things through a single poem, Eric. We can go over each line and ask ourselves questions about our own dealings with death and age.
Yes.
So he has, I'd like to mention this because I believe we should respect his work. His work includes poets from 6 countries. You have Eric from USA, and you have poets from Ireland. That's where, if anybody is not well versed with geography, just for fun, Ireland is where they drink a lot. And you have beautiful folk songs from Canada. Canada is close to the United States. A lovely country. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually found a few poems in the book really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
The first one from Max McCoubry in Dublin, and then right next to that, Martin Schwartz in Praha, Czech Republic. Both of those poems really jumped out at me. And then the other one that really jumped out at me was Workout at God's Gym from Shizuoka, Japan. That one really was, it's a great piece. There are a number of really wonderful pieces. What is There to Do in Childhood from Newark, which is around the corner from me. That piece, I'm curious if Akshay knows more about each of the writers, because he's provided us with this opportunity to share our work internationally. And when I read Vilya's piece, I thought, I wonder if Vilya is still a child. Because what is there to do in childhood? It really read as if this is what I'm doing, and perhaps I'm still in, elementary or junior high school somewhere, Whereas the piece from Shizuoka, Japan, I just found it fascinating because I know that not everything translates the same. And what was written in Japanese may mean something very different than how it's translated. But it really is amazing that the translations read to me in a way that matches kind of my style. There's a piece of this where He says, so far I've hunted by day and night the scent of outer body romance.
Oh,
The,
okay.
the scent of outer body romance, that hunted by day and night, perhaps in Japanese there's a different meaning.
There could be. You're right, you know.
And then there was another part that really, he says,
Outer body romance.
looks don't matter to matters that pertain to men. I just thought that was hilarious. I you know, in such a good, beautiful, poetic way. So I was fascinated by the different voices from different parts of the U.S., as well as the different voices from different parts of the world. And I really felt as if I could hear everyone saying something similar, which is, we're all going from here to there. Age is inevitable if we're lucky and we're blessed.
Very rightly said. In fact, I have that the poem with me. What is there to do in childhood? First line is, wipe your nose with a prickly mitten. Embrace melted snow between your feet and insoles. Listen to grunts, growls, yells falling on you from big, wrinkled kids born more than 30 years ago.
Yes.
So maybe if I get a chance, I don't know if I'll be talking to her, but I'll surely mention your point to her if I do speak with her. That we had Eric, who was wondering if words indicate our age.
Yes.
Yeah. And we also have from Japan, you mentioned, and Czech Republic.
Yes.
That's one of the nations I'd like to go to.
Both of those pieces I really enjoyed.
And Sarah wants to know where can we buy the book, and Amita Suntalia has very correctly pointed her to the website. I'm just checking. Sarah also thanks for helping us appreciate the joys and gifts of aging, Eric, and you have thanked her for that. We had questions from Kalyan, but if there was a better way to read questions and comments, I would have.
There was
yes.
one about psychological issues, or
I got one. Since it's a sentence, I can come up.
Experience.
Yeah.
Is gratitude the key towards positivity?
Okay, let's. No, I would rather go with this one. Experience is contamination. Do you agree?
Experience is contamination. Do you agree? No, I don't agree, because I think of contamination in the sense that it has negative connotations. I think experience doesn't contaminate our innocence. I think experience allows our innocence to transform. And if we don't have experiences, then how can we live a life well led? Everyone has to experience something. Even birth is a major experience for everyone involved. The mother giving birth, that experience is unimaginable and only something that each mother can know. And what we experience when we're being born, we don't remember that moment, but that first breath is an experience, and we cry out. And I once read that the cry of a newborn baby is the closest we can come to hearing the voice of our soul. And I thought that's fascinating, because it's that first noise that we make, that first vocalization, that is the mystery. Because all of the greatest philosophers and thinkers of the world, no one can really explain just why we're here, right? Why are we here? And that question begs the need for experience. And so I don't think of it as contamination. I think of it as transformation. Experience is transformation. And sometimes transformation isn't always to our liking. You know, sometimes we don't want to transform. We like this comfort, you know, the comfort of the womb, or the comfort of our bed, or the comfort of somebody who cares for us, or just the comfort of having a hot cup of tea. These things are all experiences, but if we don't have them, then how can we live? So no, I disagree. Experience is not contamination. You know, transformation is necessary, and experiences are necessary. We have to have them. And I've always felt as a poet that experience is essential. You know, my favorite poems and poets, I used to be really fascinated with Dylan Thomas, and I read a little bit about his life, and one of the essays about him was saying that he felt that if he didn't get out in the world and see and feel and hear and do things out of the ordinary, that he couldn't be a poet, because he wouldn't have the experience. You know, there was a long period of time in my youth when I did slam poetry, where I would perform. And I found that many of the other poets, they were essentially telling stories in a creative way. And when I stopped doing that, I reverted back to the written word as opposed to the spoken word, because I've always thought that for me, writing the words gives me the opportunity to paint. I'm not a painter, but I can paint the imagery in my head, and it doesn't have to be a story. I can tell a story all day long. I can tell 1,000, 1,000,000 stories of what I've done or what I've seen, and I can tell them in creative ways. But when I write, I try to play with words. You know, when in my poem where it says it leads us all through the coil and shackles, in the 80s there was a band called This Mortal Coil, and I was in college, and I heard of this band, and I thought, wow, This Mortal Coil. And I learned more about that from the philosophers, about what it means to be in the mortal coil, that we kind of continue and we circle and we go through this spiral of life. And so again, that was something that I learned, but I didn't learn till later. And it's always been applicable to how I approach my writing. You know, I write because I have to, but I also write because I live and I see and I experience. And so for me to preserve what I've lived through, writing allows me to do that.
Okay,
maybe
so
it keeps me young.
I believe it does, because when we perform things soulfully, we are involved in the spirit of God. That is, if you believe in concept of gods, and if not, the spirit of nature. When we are fully involved in nature, when we are fully involved with the energy, we are the energy. So we don't grow old then. Maybe we'll have a discussion on this sometime. I'd like to know,
I agree with you. the spiritual concepts of who we are and who we connect with, the belief and concept of God or a great spirit. I've always thought that, for me personally, no middleman. I don't need someone else to help me connect with what I call the great spirit, or the great creator, the grand architect of the universe. However you want to refer to the names may change, the concept doesn't. For me, I can say Allah, Jah, Jehovah, Buddha, Vishnu, Shiva, Krishna, Yahweh, Rama, Amen. The names don't change the concept of connecting, whether it's nature or, for me, the way to continue. And it allows us to also connect with each other, to feel like we are part of something bigger than ourselves.
Okay. This makes me want to know about your other work. Do you have other poems? You could perhaps.
I've got millions of other poems.
We can't read the millions, so we'll stop at 10,045 if that's acceptable to you.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. I'm not able to.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I can tell you that, temporarily.
Mr. Ravi says it has been a good experience connecting here. I hope he's around. And Kalyan has to just leave for a call, but he has mentioned the word enlightening, really enlightening. And perhaps he'll tell us more when he joins back. And yes, Eric, over to you.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad to hear it. And for me, as I was saying, I've always been fascinated with what I call vernacular. What is the voice of the individual based on where they're from, what, not just physical location, because as we said in this book, the international aspect of it is fascinating because I can hear voices from different locations, but I also listen for voices that speak to where we're from in our place and time, right? So I was born in the Bronx, but raised in New Jersey. And I grew up in the 80s when rap music was just beginning, and slang, all of the different words of slang and musicality of words became very prominent for me. And so when I write, I try to use words that speak to my own vernacular. The people I grew up with know what I'm saying when I use strange words like, I don't know, I can say to a particular friend, I got that Samsonite, and somebody else might hear the word Samsonite and think of luggage because it's a brand, but we grew up in a time and place when we knew that luggage was a bag, and a bag had a reference to something else, and Samsonite was really strong. It was, advertised to us as indestructible or super strong. So when I can say to a particular friend that I grew up with a certain word, and they'll hear it differently than how someone from another part of the world or another place and time will hear it. So I love the use of vernacular in my writing, and I use a lot of slang when I write. Not necessarily in this piece, but even when I said, it leads us through the coil and shackles, I'm referring to this mortal coil, and in my head I'm thinking of the band, but I'm also thinking of the concept. not everybody else is going to pick up on that, you know. And to use the word lout or scoundrel, those are not popular words. I could say it's a jerk or a real, you know, I don't know, a bad person.
Age is a joke.
Yeah, it doesn't sound the same as age is a total scoundrel. You know?
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, there was a movie with Steve Martin and Michael Caine, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
I enjoy the film every time I see it.
It's a hilarious movie,
It's
right?
hilarious.
And I'm going, but age is not that way. It's a dirty, rotten scoundrel, but not funny. It's a humorless lout, right? So in my head, when I write, there are all of these references that I know, but they don't come out specifically. I don't write that out. So, you know, age is a dirty, rotten scoundrel. People say, I know the movie. So, those kinds of things. That's my approach to it.
Great. Will you be reading any other poem of your choice? And if it has a local slang, we'll ask you about it. That would be a nice way to perhaps end.
Okay.
After.
Well, you know, I used to do a number of slam pieces, and actually, you know what? I'm going to do a new one because it's a bit shorter.
Okay.
And it's actually an old one, but it's one I haven't done in a long time. I haven't read in a long time. It is about a friend of mine, and she and I both suffered from alcohol addiction in our 20s.
Okay.
And we were also living in Los Angeles and not earning any money. I mean, very little. So we struggled. But she loved to dance and I loved to dance. And so we used to go out and just try to have a good time with whatever we had. So it's called The Room, which was the name of an underground club in Hollywood. The Room. We were sitting around, getting up, looking to work it out. We practiced our Latin steps in the Hollywood room. The suds dripped down up over the rim, leaving just enough to catch the crook, and my elbow meets the bar. We took the best of everything, extra special anything. Anything from our seats spinning around got us on our feet to offer away. Work it out. We bathed in the light of knowing we could afford only one. Whatever we could get to fill the cup was sure to have us spit and shout it out. Chupas los chuletas. Suck those chops, suck them to the bone. Please, madam, keep. Won't you give it away? Say, this one's on the house.
Oh, this is nice. I was transported to the location. When I was imagining the location, and there's musicality.
Yes.
Will you kindly read the line again? Everything, the best of.
We took the best of everything, extra special anything. From our seats, right? We took the best of everything.
So it's the way you said those lines. It made it look like a musical number. We took the best of everything. You know, it's the way your lines, they have a good rhythm to them. The lines have a good rhythm.
Well, I'm also a musician. I don't know if you know it, but I'm a musician as well. So I try to keep rhythm in all that I do.
Maybe someday this will be a song that I'll hear on Spotify or Amazon.
Well, I'll tell you this. If you're interested, I did put out a record, and one side of the record is 4 sonnets that I put to some heavy
Okay.
rock and roll music. And the other side of the record, it's a vinyl record, but you can get it as a digital disc. The other side of the record is a long form poem that's written in a style called Hakai No Renga, which was a precursor to haiku. It's essentially a haiku with a couplet at the end of it. So it's 575, which is a haiku, followed by a couplet of 7/7.
Okay.
So 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, and then a response, two lines of 7 syllables each. So 575, 77, 575, 77, and I go through an entire litany of things that I observed while living in San Francisco writing this piece. And it's about 15 minutes long. It's a very long form, Hakai No Renga. So, you know, I've been trying to put some of the work to music.
Is it available anywhere?
It's available on Spotify. It's available everywhere. Apple Music, Amazon. You can find it. I can type it in.
If you could, yeah.
It's under my EJS handle, EJS, and it's on a label called Birs Recordings. I'm trying to type it in now, but for some reason it's giving me on Birs Recordings. All right, I'm gonna, as soon as I type this correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you type on Birs Recordings, all of the availability will be there. The 4 sonnets are heavy rock and roll. I play with a number of great musicians, including, I think someone who joined us, Flight Feather Music, joined us. He's on the record. He's a friend of mine. So,
okay.
And Frank Ferrer is the drummer for Guns N' Roses. He's on the record.
Oh, okay. That's a popular band, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So, you know, but as I said when we began this session, there are a lot of creative people here in Maplewood. So I'm inspired by just my neighbors and friends. And I'm truly honored to be a part of this international anthology. I hope we can do more together over time.
I would like that, Eric. I look forward to interacting with you again and having a discussion again on poetry. I think it will turn out very well because we seem to vibe on philosophical topics. And I feel such a discussion will give many of us much more insight. Perhaps it will be like reading a good book. Some discussions equal good books. So with that, I thank you, Eric. Thank you so much. It's been a genuine pleasure speaking with you and talking about.
Please tell me your name again so that I can pronounce it correctly.
Karthike. It's like the motor car, the car.
Karthike.
Yeah, okay, not bad. Car and the cell. Tike.
Karthike.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, Karthike, real pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much. This has been fascinating and fantastic. I appreciate the opportunity.
I appreciate the poetry and your insights. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you.
And good night.
Okay.
Thank you to everyone who has joined in.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you, Poet's Choice, and good night.
Yes, thank you, Akshay, and thank you, Poet's Choice. And get the book. It's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And for all of us here, please join us again. Perhaps we'll be, day after tomorrow, we'll be with another poet. And Eric, you're always welcome to join in for the other poets.
I'll look forward to that.
Yeah. All right. Good night.
All right, good night.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ravi Sunthalia, Amita Sunthalia, Sarah. Thank you so much, Sarah. As I mentioned, Sarah is a good friend. And we have, I'm reading now, I can read the comment section properly for some reason, because Eric's window has gone. We have Echo Quinn with us. She's also co-poet. Oh, wonderful. I look forward to, is that Echo Scribbles, I wonder? If so, hello, and look forward to interacting with you, Echo. And that's EJS on Birs Recordings. Okay, I'll go on Amazon and search for that. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to our friends from Gujarat, from parts of India for joining in. Good night and see you again probably day after tomorrow. Akshay? Yeah? All right. Good night, everyone. I guess I'll wait for the others to leave. I think they have. I have no way to find out, so I'll presume that. Thank you and good night.
See you in